Hi, this is Kevin Deal from Upscale Audio, and today I'm here with John Hunter from REL Acoustics.
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Good. John is one of my heroes. He's a very old friend back in the old Somico days. I mean, I've known this guy a long time, and I have to say, one of the smartest and best people in high-end audio. He is the CEO, the president, and can I say that you're the owner? Yeah, he's the owner of REL Acoustics, and I gotta say something. I gotta say something to you. I've always loved REL. Back in the old days of the Storm, and the old days, I always loved REL. But when you took over, you became like a supercharger, like a supercharger for an engine. You know, I mean, it just takes that thing and makes it perform. You have done that with this brand.
Thank you.
It is another planet, and you take a product that you guys make like this, I mean, and compare it to something that was made in the past, and it's like the difference between a Tesla, the satellite things that are up there, and Kitty Hawk. I mean, really, it's that different, and I'm super pleased to have you here.
Thank you.
We are going to talk about the Predator, the 1510, which we were rocking this yesterday, and I got to tell you something. This thing is unbelievable, John. What can you tell us about it?
Well, let's jump in. First of all, so many of your customers, as you know, are high-end two-channel people, right? So I was talking with a dear friend of mine who's a great dealer in Minneapolis a few days ago, and we're talking about home theater. He said, I don't do home theater. Really? Okay. So we changed the conversation a little bit. We got into what we were doing. What do you do at night? You know, I've been drinking more wine. You know, we've all been doing things a little differently the last couple of years, right? And 40 seconds into it, you know, we probably watched 2 hours of Netflix or Hulu or something like that. I said, bingo. You're watching home theater, my friend. You just don't get it, right? You just aren't experiencing it. Oh, I never really thought of that. Okay, point taken. So when we did this is the second generation. So the 1510, no mysteries to its name. It's a beast of a 15-inch driver that is very fast and has tremendous throw, and a 1,000-watt amplifier. Now this comes after our 1508, our first generation piece, which itself was a really good piece. We expanded the power from 800 watts to 1,000. Which forced and necessitated a complete redesign of the driver, of course. You've just got to do more stuff better. So we did all of those things, but then we did a bunch of other stuff that's not in the spec sheet. And I'll share those tricks with you a little bit, because you know I don't have any secrets from Kev. I tell him all the backstory stuff of how we got to this, how we solved that. So I spent 4 days listening to explosions. That's exhausting, I can tell you. And some of it I had earplugs in, but some of it you can't. And the reason is there is a metallic percussive quality to the beginning of an explosion. When you see a hand grenade thrown, when a bomb goes off, the part that actually shocks you and makes your eyes blink isn't the core explosion. It's the initial onset as the metal shrieks and tears itself apart. That's then followed an instant later by the actual boom of the bomb portion of it, right? And we weren't capturing that initial metallic attack, that bang followed by the boom. So we started experimenting. We've been using secondary filters, basically just a small little roll off way up high to make sure that our subwoofers don't suddenly start outputting things like violins. You can't hear the soprano singing. So that's been in there for 20 years, 17, ever since we took over. But what we did here, we just released it. We took it up higher, and that allowed us to capture that initial metallic attack. Sounds like a small thing, but these are the things we were really fettling, all the little details. How do we make home theater better? Because it can be really bad, as we all know. We've heard tons and tons of mediocre home theater, and it's not really all that exciting. So it started with that. We cranked the gain way up. That'll come in later when we start talking about our friends at Klipsch, yeah? We unleashed all the power. Now, one of the things that Justin, my chief engineer, and I do is we work really hard to get better every project. We look at everything with really clear eyes. There are companies that pat themselves on the back and go, oh my gosh, we're such studs, right? We get up every day and go, I was at this store and I heard this. What was that? And we start thinking about, what was that issue? How do we eliminate that issue? How do we make our stuff better? I think that's the thing that we bring to the party that most companies just don't. They get very self-satisfied. They start selling a bunch of stuff. They're done. Got it. So when we started looking at what was going on here, not only did we improve increase the power by 200 watts, which is what, 25% increase in power, but we also are so much better because during the time between when we did that and this, we released the brand new S's, which are Herculean. We released the brand new Series TX's, which were just a massive tidal wave of quality and dynamics and speed over and above the already really good TIs. And we were concurrently working on our new reference models. So all of those influences start to fold their way in. So we're able to take, limiters are a thing that you have to put into, especially a subwoofer amplifier, to prevent damage to the driver, essentially, and ultimately amplifier damage as well. So it's a necessary component. If you do it wrong, and wrong means, in the old days, it would literally like stop. Like you would have units shut down and reset after 30 seconds. We look at it a little differently. We look at it as a bungee cord. We want the thing to be able to go through the entire drop into the river and just stop an inch before you hit the water, right? So we wanted to go all the way out. Well, how do you know where the river is, right? And when you're trying to get a piece out the first time and you just want to make sure people aren't going to have a bad experience, you leave a little performance on the table. So with the old one, even though it was a 600 or 800 watt unit, we were having to begin the limiting at 600 watts, right? You never quite get to the 800 unless you got some Herculean thing. Well, the new ones we're literally getting all the way up to about 980 watts before the bungee cord goes, that's enough, boys, we're going back up. And because the power supply got improved, we got 500 watts back of this thing we're not using for peaks. We always rate things, Kev, in continuous RMS. It's the only way I think is fair. So we always list it as, it's 1,000 watts, it's got to be able to do it, and it's got to be able to do it for a while. And yet that means you've got to have reserve current, right? So this thing has got massive amounts of headroom beyond the 1,000 watts. And the net result is something that plays about 20% louder, which is remarkable. The other one already, like, I swear to God, moved continents. And there's this effortlessness to this. And then after we got done doing the hand grenades and the bombs and the airplanes crashing and all that stuff, then we went and spent 3 months working on the second phase of it, which was the musical part. That, I've always said, that's the hardest part of any subwoofer. And the net result is something that can go back and forth, and we'll get into this in future videos with Kevin a little bit too, but they are incredible as musical backstops. Oh my goodness gracious. So with high efficiency speakers, with large speakers, it used to be that, if you had a large scale speaker, you were gonna have to spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a subwoofer, kind of big enough in scale to keep up. Remember the old Rel Stentor was $6,000 20 years ago.
Right.
Right? It, honest to goodness, probably wouldn't do a great job of keeping up.
No, there is no doubt that it would not.
And these, by doing this, let's turn this around. Can you help me spin this?
It's going to go this way.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, we're good. We're good. So this is very conventional, beautiful quality still. We care about all the little details, but basically by using low level instead of our traditional high level and low level connections, by focusing on this being a home theater piece and only coming in either RCA or XLR, it allows us, this sounds strange, it allows us to decouple from the amplifier. And why is that important on a really high efficiency horn speaker? A high efficiency speaker, take a Klipsch Cornwall, I want to say something like 105 dB efficiency, meaning for 1 watt of electrical power, it's capable of putting out 105 decibels, which is very loud. We were playing some tracks last night, and the room was rocking, and I can assure you that the Prima Luna wasn't using more than 5 or 6 watts. So Kev, you'll notice right away that we don't have the speak-ons, right? There is no high-level input on these, and that's really important to understand. The HTs were primarily initially developed for home theater. In this range, they're expanding to being able to do both very fast musical reproduction and the big dynamic home theater thing. That only requires RCA inputs for either low level or for 0.1. And in the 0.1, we also give you these XLR, this single XLR input. We're also giving you feed throughs so that these are going to be used frequently. We've got probably 15 dealers that have ordered them as 6-packs. So you'll be able to use line arrays of these for really large speakers. It's an amazing combination of things. The reason that we're only using the low level and the reason this is going to work so well with things like the big Klipsch's, right? Those are very efficient speakers, as I said. We need to be able to uncouple it from the way the amplifier is working. If you've got a speaker with 105 or 108 dB of efficiency, you may only be listening to it at 1 watt or less than a watt. If you're trying to drive the input of a high-level subwoofer with 3/4 of a watt or 1 1/8 watts, it's not going to grab onto that and be able to keep up with a 105 dB efficient speaker. So this has the familiar RCAs. We've got ins and outs, and we also have in and out for the XLR. And that's principally going to be used, that single XLR is really for LFE only. And a lot of people like the better mechanical fitment of an XLR connector. It just feels more robust, and frankly, it makes you feel like you're more of a high-end stud. So there you go. This is the 1510. You're going to see and hear tons about it. We've got about 7 reviewers asking for it already. There's a very nice review that the folks at Audioholics just did that you'll love. This reviewer, by the way, is really smart and technically really bright. And I really enjoyed reading his work. He's a very bright guy, and he really did the measurements properly and didn't get caught up in, oh, I'm trying to create, a perfectly flat curve. All that, he explains why that stuff is nonsense. And the fit, the finish, this is a beautiful piece of work.
When I went into the sound room, like I said, we were listening to it with a pair of Cornwalls on a Prima Luna, right? An Evo 300.
Yeah.
And Kat, I mean, we got to find the video of Kat. Well, we have a good time here, right? Yeah. John comes down, Paul comes down, McGee, who is the regional guy, and he's so amazing. And we have a great time because I want my employees to really be up to speed on how these things work and how they're really going to function.
Right.
In the real world, not a matter of just looking at numbers. When you buy a REL, don't buy a subwoofer. First off, don't buy a subwoofer from a speaker manufacturer. Do not. No, you've heard me say that before. Don't, because it's a different product altogether. You might as well buy it from a
competitors.
A company. You buy it from Oppo, right, or something. I mean, just don't. It's a different product. It's a special product. They work differently. Buy it from a specialist like REL. I mean, because they are at the top of the heap, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Well, that's the 1510. You're going to start seeing these in music systems as well as home theater systems. And if you also are finding yourself watching more than you ever thought you would of Netflix, Hulu, Paramount Plus, all of that stuff, this is transformative. I have to tell you, this is just transformative.
It really is. And of course, it comes with a grill.
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
Even though I gotta say, what's this driver made out of?
This is a composite of carbon fiber and fiberglass.
Oh my God.
This is a glass fiber.
I mean,
it's really stiff.
You can just feel it. You just feel the quality of this thing when we're picking it up to put it up here. Look, come to our beautiful 10,000 square foot store. We'll play these for you. We will talk to you about it. Make sure you're heading down the right road. Understand that when you buy a subwoofer, it's not just for bass. It's about increasing musical satisfaction. Just satisfaction, whether it's movies or music. Creating realism. Talk to my non-commissioned salespeople. If you buy one, you don't love it, you can just send it back. It's not a big deal. We want to make sure you're happy at Upscale Audio, and that's why we always use our famous tagline, which is, we'll treat your system like it's ours. I want to say thanks to John.
Of course. Thank you so much, you guys.
Bye-bye.